I've had a lot of questions on the Twin Cam 88 and how to increase power on this engine. So whether you're just doing a basic top-end refresh or a complete engine rebuild, today we're going to take a look at some aftermarket companies and step outside the box a little bit. Stepping outside of Harley's basic parts catalog, this allows you to increase your options and definitely increase your power. We've covered a lot of Screamin Eagle parts on this channel, and mainly for the 88, the only thing that Harley-Davidson offers is a 95-inch bolt-on kit, a set of cylinders, and some cams. But when you're going out into the aftermarket, you're going to be able to get more cubic inches and more power. Good, solid, reliable power. The aftermarket kits are very competitive in price. They have a great support after the sale, and your money really does go a lot further with the aftermarket companies. Now, there's nothing wrong with stepping outside of the Harley-Davidson catalog, because these aftermarket companies, they stand behind the products they sell, and they're really truly interested in the success of your build. Service after the sale is excellent. They all have technical support lines, so if you're in the middle of your build and you have a question, you can call them up, tell them your problem, and they'll help you find a solution to whatever your situation is. In addition to the technical support line, they also have a full complement of videos, detailed instructions, everything that is going to be step by step to help you get your engine tore down and put back together with their kit installed. Now, while a Harley-Davidson service manual is probably one of the best tools you can have in your toolbox, this provides a complete detail of everything you'd ever want to know about your motorcycle and step-by-step instructions to get through taking it apart and putting it back together. But sometimes looking at pictures and reading through the book, sometimes it's easier to be able to call and talk to somebody on the phone and actually have a video to follow along with. And a lot of the companies will provide you with some videos and good instruction to help get you through your build. So the first kit on my list today comes from S&S Cycle. You may have heard of S&S, which they are basically, arguably, one of the leading aftermarket companies in Harley performance. One of S&S's mildest kits that they offer is the 97-inch bolt-on big bore upgrade for your Twin Cam 88. Now, the 97-inch kit is a great kit for just a basic top-end refresh. So let's go take a look at the specs on this 97-inch kit. First off, on S&S's 97-inch big bore kit, the first thing I like is absolutely no case machining is required. This kit will bolt right on to your 88-inch motor. They also kept the piston weight the same as stock, so you don't have to worry about flywheel rebalancing. The pistons are forged and coated, and you can use them with the aftermarket CNC heads, or you can keep your stock heads. The pistons on this kit have recessed valve pockets, so if you decide to add a higher lift cam, you don't have to worry about that valve coming down and kissing the piston. But one of the best parts about this kit that I like is that you can use your stock heads and still maintain a 9.7 to 1 compression ratio. This allows you to use your stock cams, so you don't have to go out and buy an aftermarket set of cams. This is a great option if you have an old tired 88 and it's time to do a top-end rebuild on it. But at the same time, you can go back with your stock heads with this kit. But if you're already rebuilding the top end, it might be a good idea to go ahead and have your heads reworked. And while you're having your heads reworked, you can go ahead and port them a little bit. Now, S&S does highly recommend using some aftermarket cams with this kit. This will be easier starting, and it'll allow you to really take full advantage of what this kit offers. But as I mentioned before, you don't have to do that. You can run your stock heads and your stock cams with it. So the 97-inch kit, that's not a bad kit at all, especially if you're wanting to stay mainly with a stage 1 and just add some displacement and replace your 88-inch cylinders, and you want to keep it mild with your factory heads and your factory cams. Now, for a little bit more money, S&S does offer a 98-inch kit, and we're going to take a look at that next. This kit is more suited for somebody that's going to go ahead and add a set of mild cams to it, and plus, you're going to get a much bigger power bump if you go ahead and change the cams out. S&S's 98-inch kit. This is another complete bolt-on kit, and one of my favorite things about this kit, they have an increased fin area for better heat dissipation. So while you're adding the increased displacement, they're also compensating for that by giving it increased cooling surface area. And at $1,125.95, this is a great bolt-on kit. And as we'll see here in a minute on the dyno chart, I'll show you what kind of power this thing can produce even with just a mild set of cams. Now the compression ratio on this one is a lot higher using your stock heads. It's going to bump your compression ratio to 10.4 to 1. And if you do decide to go with the S&S ported heads, that's going to give you about a 10.6 to 1 compression ratio, which isn't bad at all. You're still going to run on pump gas and you're not going to have a lot of knocking issues. But let's take a look at the dyno chart and see what this kit can produce with a good set of cams in it. So what we're looking at here in the blue is going to be our power numbers with the 98-inch kit and an S&S 510 cam. This brings us up to a 100.8 rear wheel horsepower with a peak rear wheel torque of 108.2. This is pretty good with just a mild set of cams and a bolt-on displacement kit. That's quite a bit of an increase over our stock horsepower of 67.8 and our stock torque of 67.5. And keep in mind, the 515 is a pretty mild cam. So 100 rear wheel horsepower with a bolt-on displacement kit and a mild cam. That's not bad at all. They don't provide a dyno chart for the 97-inch kit, but with the 97-inch kit, if you were to bolt that on using your stock heads and your stock cams, the dyno chart showed our rear wheel horsepower at about 67. So with that displacement increase, with a good tune and a good exhaust, that 97-inch kit, stock heads and cam, that would probably put you up in the higher 70s, lower 80s range as far as horsepower. Now, of course, you could add a cam to that 97-inch kit or some ported heads, and it would probably do about 100 horsepower as well. I mean, you're only saving probably a couple $100 between the 97-inch kit and the 98-inch kit. So if you really plan on doing cams or doing the heads, I'd probably go with the 98-inch kit and go ahead and skip that 97. So the next kit on my list is from Moto. They've put together a beautiful kit that's really a one-stop shop for increasing your displacement, increasing your horsepower, and also updating your twin cam 88. You can buy this all in one box from one place. And the other good thing about Moto is they offer unsurpassed technical support. They have a hotline, you can contact them by email. They even send you a step-by-step DVD that walks you through tearing down your motor, putting your kit on, and getting everything put back together. Now with Moto, you have a couple of options. You can save a couple bucks by tearing down your engine and sending your OEM cylinders to them, and they'll go ahead and bore them out to the 98-inch displacement. Or for $299, you can buy their extreme duty cylinders, and then you can send your old ones back for a core refund. So in the kit, they use CP Carrillo pistons with a 10-to-1 compression ratio. So nothing too wild and crazy there. You get the Wood Performance hydraulic cam chain tensioner upgrade kit. You get a set of Wood Night Prowler cams, a set of their adjustable push rods, Wood Performance lifters, and also a set of cam bearings and all the gaskets necessary to complete the job. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Moto includes a step-by-step DVD video to help you get the job done correctly. And if you have a problem, they're always available on the phone or through email. During business hours only, of course. So before I show you the dyno chart on the Moto kit, you're going to be kind of noticing a trend here as far as horsepower and torque. Now what I really like about Moto's test bike that they used here, this started out as an 04 Dyna, stock 88 motor, stage 1 air cleaner, slip-on mufflers, dyno jet power vision. Very typical of what you would see out on the street. This typical stage 1 bike cranked out 74.23 max horsepower and 77.98 foot-pounds of torque. Not too bad at all, really. But with their 88-inch kit installed, we're looking at 97.69 horsepower and 109.77 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's a little less horsepower than the S&S kit. The S&S kit was breaking about 100, but the max torque's just a little higher at 109, where S&S was about 108. This is just the 98-inch big bore kit, running stock heads, the wood cam, stage 1 air cleaner, slip-on mufflers, and the dyno jet power vision tune. That's not bad for a set of slip-on mufflers, and nothing more than a big bore kit and a good set of cams. Yeah, so 97 horsepower with the stock heads at a 10-to-1 compression ratio and just a decent set of cams in it, that's not bad at all, especially considering that is an all-in-one kit that even upgrades your cam chain tensioner as well. Now another company I wanted to look at is Revolution Performance, and one of the best things about them is the coating they use in those cylinders. So let's go check out Revolution Performance's kit. Coming in at $1089.95, the Revolution Performance 98-inch kit fits any twin-cam 88 engine from 1999 to 2006. And the one notable thing about this kit that I really do like, it has an aluminum Nicosil plated cylinders, which this reduces friction and allows the engine to run cooler. They have two options on this kit. You can get it in 10.5:1 compression or 9.5:1 compression, and you get a Cometic head gasket kit and base gasket. Now looking at the dyno chart, it's about the same as all of our other kits. We're coming in right at about 100 horsepower, and that looks a little soft compared to the other ones. By this chart, it's a little hard to tell, but it looks like you're getting about a little over 100 foot-pounds of torque. Now, you do have to note though, this 100 horsepower, this is with a CNC ported head and a fueling 543 cam, 2-into-1 exhaust, and of course, it's tuned with a power vision. So Revolution Performance has a nice kit, and as I mentioned, I really do like that Nicosil coating on those cylinders for the heat and friction reduction. Revolution has a nice looking product, and also they offer those cylinders in silver, black highlighted, and black. But you're probably noticing a trend already with all the 98-inch kits. The horsepower and torque numbers are pretty much the same across every single kit, but the prices do vary somewhat from kit to kit. Of course, the Fuel Moto is a little higher because that's a more complete kit than the other ones, offering that updated cam plate. So I do have one kit left on my list, and this one's pretty interesting. If 98 inches just isn't enough, S&S has you covered. So if you're really wanting to go big, S&S has you covered, and I saved the largest for last. This is S&S's Sidewinder 100 cubic inch bolt-on kit. This bolts right onto your 88-inch motor with absolutely no machining required. This kit's going to fit any 88-inch motor from 1999 to 2006. You can run your stock heads, but you're going to have a 10.5:1 compression ratio. If you get the S&S heads, it's going to drop you down to 10.1:1. And with CNC heads, you're looking at 10.8:1 compression. This kit comes in two finishes for $1,178.95. You can either get it in silver or black. So now let's take a look at what the power numbers are on this guy. Now by bolting on the S&S 100-inch kit, that's going to bring your horsepower up to 100.30 rear wheel horsepower. Now the torque's a little higher on this one versus the 98-inch kits that are coming in around 108 foot-pounds. We get 113 foot-pounds of torque with this kit. Now you'll also want to keep in mind, they didn't get these power numbers by using the stock cams. They used the S&S 585 cams, a 2-into-1 exhaust system, and they were tuned with a DynoJet power vision. Now at 100 horsepower and 113 foot-pounds of torque, that's a pretty good gain over the stock numbers of 72.95 horsepower and 90.91 foot-pounds of torque. That is a lot of displacement for not having to bore your cases. Bolting on a 100 cubic inches to an 88-inch motor, that's pretty impressive. Now while the horsepower was the same as our 98-inch kits, around 100 horsepower, you did get about a 5 or 6 foot-pound bump in torque with the extra cubic inches there. I think personally, I would go with the 100-inch kit just for the fact that you get a few more foot-pounds of torque there. All the kits we looked at are from great, good quality manufacturers. They're all relatively the same as far as their horsepower and torque output, so you just have to kind of look at them and pick the one that you feel is right for you. So if you've got an 88 and you're really looking for a horsepower increase, I hope this really helped you out to know that you're not locked into a box and the biggest you can go is a 95. Now the Screamin Eagle 95-inch kit, it does run really strong. It's a good quality, reliable kit, but it doesn't have the power output that these aftermarket kits have. Now it is cheaper at only $999.95, and that includes the cylinders and the cams. And these kits we're looking at roughly about $1,200 to get the pistons and the cylinders, and then you have to buy their cams. But either direction you decide to go, if you decide to go with an aftermarket kit or stay with the Screamin Eagle, they're going to be reliable and they're going to serve you well for years. But what I do like about the S&S kits is they do have the increased cooling surface area. So no matter what kit you choose, just be sure to add a good quality oil cooler to it and upgrade those cam chain tensioners. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. You guys get out and get some riding in before that cold weather really moves in. Be safe on the street, dodge the cars, and I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.